The date is the 29th.
Before you actually like really get started, bro, like seriously, they didn't get into the group chat. And that nigga just ever just like say some goofy shit.
I know. Alright, there we go. Let me go ahead send the link to the Discord.
Oh, let me make sure my
King,
voice is shared. So like, 'cause I know I don't share my voice all the time. Oh yeah, my voice is shared.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, can Tanesh just give us some good news once, bro? Like everything, and I mean everything, is fucking doom and gloom.
Are you talking about the Two-Face actor?
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like, nigga, damn, I want to hear this shit 24/7, bro. I just wake up, niggas talking about niggas dead and shit. I'm like, bro, come on, man.
No, R.I.P. to him though. Wait, true that.
Look, I understand we all got a time to go, but like, Jesus, dude, Jesus.
I feel it.
When Genkai actor died, I didn't go crazy like, oh my god, or the original Freeze. Oh my god, she's gone. I don't know this person. I appreciate the services they did for the anime that I truly enjoy, but outside of that, I don't know this person at all. But that aside, let's go ahead and get to it.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm your host. With me today, I have TheChilledScrub, and basically, we're going to be talking about why Tekken 7 has the dumbest story mode ever made to be put into a fighting game. It's just laughable and outright sad how bad this story ended up being, considering they had all the materials to make this truly amazing. So before we even get into why the story is so bad, we need to go back to prior to the release of T7 to understand why it's so disappointing and certain decisions that are being made leading up to Tekken 8 and how we think the story may or may not go. So go ahead, Scrub. How do you feel about the pre-release material we all got for Tekken 7, like what we have on screen right now? Things like Akuma being added to the game, the addition of Kazumi, things like that. How do you feel about it?
So the marketing, essentially. Let me not be biased. I don't want to be biased in what I say. So start with the whole wooden mark thing that was in Tekken 1. That was a little cool, nice little snippet in there. I'm gonna didn't say that first. Akuma being in the game is absolutely absurd. I've always made this point. And no legacy franchise game do they put in their main games. They never put guest characters in like that besides Tekken 7, and not let alone put guest characters in there. Start the franchise or start this title off with a character that is beloved by a whole other franchise, your direct competitor. I have never seen that before. That was like eye-dropping or like jaw-dropping, and the fact that what caught me off guard the most is not the fact that they did it, even though that was bad in itself. It was people's reaction to it, like, this is just perfectly okay. I'm like, this is not okay at all. Them bringing out Kazumi after all these years, quite frankly, didn't mean anything to me whatsoever. I think it was absolutely atrocious. It felt forced, because this is something they could have addressed 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. 5 years ago, they could have been addressed.
When they introduced Lars in Tekken 6 out of the blue, they did it again with Kazumi, and as we see in Tekken 8, they're going to do it again with Heihachi's secret daughter that we just never heard about up until now.
If they wanted a Mishima to like have a Kazuya slash Heihachi, kind of fighting style that's not beginner friendly, they could have just made that a long time ago. They didn't have to just insert Heihachi's child. But going back to the original question that you asked me, the marketing leading up to Tekken 7, I had the rose tinted goggles on. I was just wanting a new Tekken, and I see that's where a lot of people are going. But with the rose tinted goggles off and looking back in hindsight, it was absolutely terrible. Now
Hmm.
that I really think about it, I can't. Now that I think about it, if you can, I can't remember the marketing besides Akuma. It was really that bad. What
The
was the
market,
actual marketing besides Akuma?
the marketing. You had Kazumi, as I stated before, we had Kazumi and the callback all the way to back to Tekken 1, how she was actually there the whole time, because if you play on Heihachi's stage back in Tekken 2, you would see it said in Japanese Heihachi and Kazumi, so that was a cool callback. You had all the story trailers with the backstory as to Kazuya and Heihachi. Kazuya stating, "You killed my mother. I'm going to avenge her. I'm going to kill you for this very reason." You had all the other characters marketing, like Jin being added to the game or Miguel being added to the game. It was all, admittedly, compared to Kazumi and Akuma, all the marketing was kinda lukewarm, and those were the main selling points of the story mode and the overall game. But then
But
you
that's what
also
I was
had,
saying. That's what I was saying. Like when you really think about it, there's nothing really memorable outside about the marketing outside of Akuma being in the game for one. That's kind of groundbreaking considering that nobody ever does that in their mainline games. And number two, Kazumi and the whole Mishima rivalry ended thing or the Mishima bloodline end thing. Like they've been talking about that forever. They always say they're gonna do it and never do it. They did it. They said, "Oh yeah, man, it ends in T4. It doesn't end in T4. Yeah, it's gonna end in T6. Bloodline Rebellion doesn't end in
yeah, it
T6."
doesn't
So
end in T6.
uh,
Yeah, and they're sort of spinning their wheels with what they want to do. And then the other big piece of marketing, obviously, what the game start the very first trailer we got for Tekken 7 was Heihachi and Kazuya facing off at the volcano. And while it was a cool spectacle, it ultimately didn't amount to anything. But then you also had other factors like content creators traveling to Japan and playing the earlier states of T7. You had freaking what else? You had Mystery Gozu streams from Eris, where he would watch arcade matches from Japanese or Korean players playing the early versions of Tekken 7 and all that stuff. It was really cool at the time because, like you said, we all had the rose tinted glasses, and at the time, everyone was sick of Tekken Tag 2 and Tekken Revolution because that's all we had at the time. But with all this hype and all this build up and all this excitement, Tekken 7 releases with its god awful story, ending, and its lackluster content. Usually, when people speak about how disappointing Tekken 7 is, they mainly talk about the missing game modes, which is a big issue, or they talk about paying for frame data, or they talk about the abysmal online. But for me personally, one of my biggest pet peeves is the story. I absolutely hate this story. It actually makes me mad when I sit down and I think about the story and how it turned out and the significance it had as both a fighting game story and what it does for Tekken as a franchise. It pisses me off. And the main issue, as Scrub was saying earlier, is that Bandai Namco simply didn't care about the story mode. They didn't even give a damn about They threw it in there at the last second. It's like they made all the marketing, threw it in there at the last second because they remembered, oh, we have to follow up on this story. This is a plot thread that people have been waiting to see a conclusion to, and then they put it together the night before. If you want an example of this, I'll give you guys one right now. Is the laughable and frankly embarrassing presentation that is the narrator. The narrator, oh my goodness. Scrub, why don't you go ahead, tell people how you feel about the narrator.
but before I talk about the narrator, I'm gonna address this too. You have to look at the time period that was going on when Tekken 7 was made. It
Right.
was during the boom of esports, so esports essentially killed the story or multiple
True.
fighting games in general. So let's take Street Fighter 5. I know I'm talking about something that's outside of Tekken, but trust me,
No,
I'm
no, no.
going
It'll
to
be
make a
good
point
for
out
the
of this.
foundation. It'll be good for the foundation.
So when you have Street Fighter 5 that released in 2015, and you have Tekken that released in 2017
2017.
to consoles,
Hmm.
right? They had 2 years to realize that Street Fighter 5 made a grave mistake with not only netcode and all that other stuff, but the story mode was absolutely terrible.
Hmm.
So they had 2 years to, look at the mistakes of Street Fighter, their direct competitor, and say, you know what, we're going to learn from that mistake and not do the exact same thing that they did. But instead of, capitalizing off of a sensational mistake by Capcom, they double down on it and actually make a worse story mode than Street Fighter 5.
And a worse story mode than MKX and Injustice 2, which came out a few months prior to Tekken 7 being released.
So when I talk about the story, because I love fighting games, I've been playing them since I was a kid.
Hmm.
When I look at the story mode of Street Fighter 5 and I look at the story mode for Tekken 7, I'm like, at least Street Fighter 5, and that game is terrible. I'm sorry, that
But
game
they
is god
tried.
awful. They at least had the common sense to, hey, if we can't hire a narrator to do these voices for us, either A, keep it silent and let people read the text speech, or we just going to have the characters themselves speak instead
Hmm.
of having this boring, dry, unenthusiastic narrator that we have for Tekken 7. He literally sucks the life out of the game.
Yep.
Like, if you look at the cutscenes and have that guy on mute, it's actually more interesting than having the narrator talk. The narrator just sucks the life out of the game.
He does. It's so bad. And look, I know narrators or like the voice announcers for the game voicing the narration for the previous games. I know it's not a new concept because they've done it since T4. The difference is that is the context. Context is key. The narrator for the previous games, for both Tekken 4 and T5, while their performance wasn't anything special, at the very least they weren't trying to speak as a real person, right? They were just telling you, the player, what is going on in the story. So that works completely different. And the rare instances where they voice the characters and was as to what the characters would be saying, like say like, oh, Jin, you have Jin, you have the narrator saying that, oh, Jin's like, man, I gotta deal with this devil gene before it eats away at me. It's not meant to be like a big emotional scene. It's not a huge plot point. It's not anything special, so it doesn't really matter, right? Compared to when we have the narrator, who has what is supposedly supposed to be our point of view if we were to live in the world of Tekken, you have him speak in such a bland, uninterested, monotone manner, it just takes you out of the scene. It was frankly embarrassing to see Tekken 7 release overall, to see Tekken 7 story release, to play through those cutscenes, compare it to like NRS, and they have these big dome explosions for their cutscenes, and then you have the DC characters. You get to see Batman and Superman kick ass in the cutscenes. You get to see the Raiden versus Liu Kang fight, the Batman versus Deathstroke fight. You have Street Fighter 5, and at the very least, you have action within those cutscenes. For Tekken 7, it's just every single interlude is just the narrator, and because he speaks in such a bland, uninterested manner, it takes you out of the scene. And this is a problem because important plot threads of the lore that have either been changed or added to this game are locked behind the crappy narrator scenes. You're gonna miss it on your first playthrough because you're taken aback as to how bad the narration is, or you're just gonna skip up the narrator scenes altogether on repeat playthroughs. And that's the biggest problem with the narrator. Is just, it's such a weird decision. I don't know what it was they were trying to convey by having him speak so bland and uninterested, but it really doesn't do any, it doesn't do the game or the story a service. It's not profound in any type of way. It doesn't add to the story. It doesn't give me, it shows me, it's really like, it's like you have the kid at the back of the class who learns about the presentation even though he had 2 weeks in advance to prepare for it. Right, so he throws it together the night before, but he didn't get any sleep because he was working on it all night instead of utilizing his time properly. And then he gives his presentation and he doesn't know what he's saying. He's stumbling over his words. He's talking like this. And it's like, it's just confusing and it's embarrassing. That's the main issue for me. It's embarrassing. The narrator is so weird. I don't know why we couldn't have the actual characters themselves, like what Street Fighter and what Injustice and what MK11 does. Have the characters themselves narrate the story, because for some of these characters who don't even get to appear in the main story mode, it would have been great to give those characters more depth, and would have given us an insight as to what those characters are going through, how they feel as they live through the world of Tekken, and they have to live through a war and all these different aspects. You know, I don't know if you guys have played this series, but Legacy of Kain does this brilliantly. They have Kain and Raziel, the two series main characters, they have them narrate the story. Anytime there's an interlude, Kain and Raziel will speak to the audience and they'll tell them about the world and how it changes around them, and how they have doubts about if they're going to be able to escape their terrible fate. Am I able to change my destiny? And the dialogue in those games is really good, and it gives you an insight as to how those characters think. We could have had something like that for Tekken 7. Matter of fact, we should have had something like that for Tekken 7. Imagine seeing the story from Lars' perspective. It would have given the audience a better chance to connect with him as a character because people didn't find him appealing in Tekken 6 and he had amnesia for that game. So any aspect of the real Lars was gone. We didn't know much about him outside of the fact that he had a friend named Togo who died for no reason, that he hated Heihachi, Kazuya, and Jin. Or give the narration to a character who is absent from the story, like Lei Wulong. It would explain what he was doing in between Tekken 6 and Tekken 7. But instead, we get this bland narrator who, alongside Akuma, robs the actual screen time from the Tekken characters that we've been following for like 20 or some odd years. And we get this pitiful narration who was actually instructed to speak in such a bland, monotone manner by Bandai Namco themselves. You can actually find the interview. Yellow Motion did an interview with the narrator, with the voice actor and narrator. He said, I was specifically instructed to speak in this manner. If you wanted more proof that Bandai Namco didn't care about the story, there you go.
Well, my problems with the narration is the simple fact that not only did Street Fighter V mess up tremendously, but Street Fighter is not known for having cutscenes and all that. That's not their thing. They tried it in Street Fighter 4 with, in 2008.
The character interludes.
Yeah, they tried it, and it wasn't that bad, but that's not something they're known for. They're really known for, like, text panels and things of that nature. That's where their bread and butter is with their story mode in their comic books. A problem with Tekken 7 is the fact that I know that they can do better because I've seen them do better.
They have done that.
With Tekken 4, a game that came out in 2004, so 10 years it's senior, well 10 years and some change it's senior, and it has done better than Tekken 7 has in just one character panel with one character once you beat the arcade mode.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. T5
it's embarrassing.
wasn't that great, but T4 was probably as good as it gets when it comes to story mode and lore overall. Even though they retconned a lot of things in T4, that's probably as good as it's going to get. And when I look at the narration for T7, when Tekken 1 and Tekken 2 with no dialogue whatsoever, and you're just happy to look at it, and it gives you more sense of emotion than actually hearing the narrator's voice from Tekken 7 as you watching the events occur, that screams volumes. Like when I look at T3 and Tag 1, once you beat the story mode, they don't really say a word. They don't say a word at all, actually.
They don't.
But the cutscenes gives you all the emotion that you need, and you can gather your own conclusion from what happened. Tekken 7, they lay it out for you, but it's just so dry. It's boring.
Yep, and their presentation.
Go ahead.
Their presentation, we're going to touch on this a bit later. It's good that you mentioned that for Street Fighter as well, because this whole thing of cinematic story modes in fighting games is ripped off of NRS because of MK9's success, and not even just MK9, MK versus DC, MK9, then Injustice. Injustice, I think, especially plays a key role in this because, it's
I wouldn't even
DC
say that.
characters.
I wouldn't even say that. The thing about NRS, even before NRS, I would even say going back to the Midway days from MK4 all the way on, they always had cutscenes and narration going on in their story modes. Yeah. That's been their bread and butter. They've been doing that for a while. They just upped the marketing value because they had the money off the success of the 3D games that nobody want to talk about, but that's for a conversation for a whole other day. But with that being said, though, like, that's NRS's bread and butter. I would have been perfectly fine if they would have just cut the narration altogether and just had the character speak. That would have sufficed for me. They've been doing that since T5. They've literally been doing that since T4. The characters been talk since the first time they had the characters talk.
And what they were able to, I'm telling you, Jin's ending, beautiful. King's ending, refusing one of the main themes of Tekken, the price, the path to power, the price of revenge. How far are you willing to go for revenge? King refusing to kill Marduk because he sees his family. That was much more impactful than anything that the recent Tekken games have done with any of these characters. And
it leaves room to the imagination. You can actually see it. It invokes emotion. That's the whole point of a narrator to begin with, is to invoke a sense of emotion. Yeah, it's one thing to see it, but that narration gives the edge on top. And I'm not trying to be funny, but like when you used to watch Dragon Ball Z back in the day, like that narrator, he carried it a bit. He kind of did, like
Yes,
along
he
with
did.
Bruce Falcon, the soundtrack, he carried it. When you look at things like Persona 5, like the narration of the characters and when they're talking, they carry it. But Tekken doesn't look. You know what's crazy? Now that I think about it, they copy everything from everyone, but they don't copy the good elements that made these games so great,
Great
especially
to
when it
begin
comes
with.
down to the story mode.
Yep.
So that's very interesting.
But with Tekken 7's whole shtick of trying to paint the Mishima family and the tragedy behind it, with them trying to paint it as a story of tragedy rather than of just people being dickheads to each other and their selfish pursuit of power, we really needed to spend time with these characters more than ever. We should have got to see Jin in this game and him dealing with the repercussions of sending the world to hell. We should have got to see a bit more of Lars and how he's operating through this story. We should have got to see flashbacks of Kazuya and Li Chaolan in the Mishima household when they were growing up.
I just
And I
realized
really would
something.
have liked to see, the Mishima household, the head of the Mishima household as he's staring on screen, him being a loving father and a strong husband before his descent into the monster that he becomes throughout the rest of the games. And with
I
that,
just
go
I just
ahead.
realized something hilarious, like really hilarious.
Go
Well,
for
you
it.
just said Jin, and I never thought about this until now, which is crazy. It's odd how throughout Tekken 7 story mode, Jin is absent throughout the entire thing, and he caused the events from T5 to on that till now. But Heihachi dies. Heihachi literally had no parts in this really whatsoever.
Right.
He just died for no reason. He
Essentially.
literally had no part in it. And Jin gets off scot free. He didn't.
But with that, let's
And
transition
then at
into
the
this.
end of the story mode, he gets a heroic ending like, yes, we must stop this.
Oh yeah, of course. But in all
Okay, my
seriousness,
bad,
it's
my
all good.
bad.
It's all good. It's good.
But
to
that
change up the
just
tone.
came to my attention like, wait a minute, he actually literally just died for no reason.
You sipped the Kool-Aid and then just decided I'm gonna go fight my son.
Sure, why not? Why not?
Weeball, he fucked around and found out. But let's talk about Heihachi. In this little section, I'm going to call Heihachi Mishima is a terrible fucking protagonist. I've ranted so many times about this. Scrubs.
He should have died a villain. He should have died a villain.
But to understand why Heihachi is such a poorly written character in this game and why he does not work as a protagonist, let's go back to Tekken 1 real quick. In the original story of Tekken, Heihachi viewed both his father and son as weak and not worthy of the Mishima name. He locks his father Jinpachi under Honmaru, and he had a different test for his son: throw him off of a cliff. This test was ordered to ensure that Kazuya was truly worthy of the Mishima name if he climbed back up and defeated Heihachi one day. Heihachi would know that Kazuya was truly his son and worthy of the name. In every single adaptation of Tekken, or every single reference to this event prior to Tekken 1, they have kept Heihachi's character and his motivation consistent, and it was better that way. Heihachi's ruthlessness and aggressiveness was always translated into his gameplay as well. He's always been the aggressive Mishima. He's got a lot of rushdown tools. Kazuya was the defensive Mishima, and Jin and Devil Jin were a mixture of the two gameplay styles, which made sense canonically because Jin beat both Heihachi and Kazuya in a straight-up fight. That's all good and dandy. And Heihachi's always been characterized to the audience in two ways. He's a ruthless monster bent on world domination, and he's just overall a dick. He impregnates Nina Williams while she's in cryosleep. He throws his son off of a cliff. He invites Li Chaolan into the Mishima household, and he mistreats him. He locks his father under a temple, and he leaves him to die. He shoots his grandson in the head once he outlived his usefulness. He's either characterized like that, or he's a complete goofball. So it's all good. It's all consistent, right? Everyone's following me, right? It's all consistent. But then comes along one Tekken 7, and just like in true Tekken 7 fashion, they managed to mess it all up by changing Heihachi's narrative and his character motivations completely. Because now...
Well, there were times where he was trying to save his son, like Tekken 2, he was actually trying to save his son, and then...
Your mic cut out.
Oh, Tekken 2, where Heihachi was actually trying to save his son.
Well, in Tekken 2, one could make the argument that that fight was all in
And
Kazuya's
Kazuya's
mind.
head. Yeah,
And that was to
Kazuya's head.
represent him overcoming his hatred for the Mishima family and him just moving on with his life because of Angel's ending. But, that's a topic for in a bit.
Back when
Yeah.
the game was actually deep, when the story mode was actually deep, and
Oh, yes, of
made
course.
you
When we
think.
didn't need freaking big, dumb CGI cutscenes to convey a good narrative, But anyways, came along one Tekken 7, and in true T7 fashion, they managed to mess everything up about this consistent and simple narrative. Heihachi now tells the narrator that the reason he threw Kazuya off of the cliff is because he wanted to see if his son had the devil in him or not. His suspicions coming from the fact that Kazuya's mother Kazumi was the devil the whole time. Heihachi is now trying to be painted as a sympathetic villain, a Walter White, if you will, as he was forced to kill Kazumi, whom he loved deeply. And for so many reasons, this new narrative just doesn't work for Heihachi. And it's not even because of his character in the previous games. That's a whole issue in and of itself. It's because the very information that this game that introduced the retcon to begin with, they contradict themselves, and it just shows the sloppiness in the writing. Tekken 7 outright tells you that Heihachi lodged Jinpachi under Honmaru before he killed Kazumi. So we lost our attempt at a sympathetic character or a tragic hero right there. Death of Kazumi or not, Heihachi was always planning to overthrow Jinpachi, who the younger Kazuya doesn't even mention when he attempts to get revenge. So, did Kazuya not know about his grandfather being locked under a temple and left to starve to death, or did he just not care? Maybe Kazuya's entire relationship with Jinpachi got retconned at this point, but we don't even know because the writing's gotten so sloppy.
What I don't understand is the whole point of Kazumi's introduction into Tekken 7 was to kill Heihachi to begin with. That was our whole purpose.
Exactly.
Was to infiltrate and kill the Mishima Zaibatsu. That was the whole thing.
But the only reason why Heihachi turns into a villain is because Kazumi has a heel turn.
And what doesn't make sense, not only in Heihachi's standpoint, you knew that this woman was trying to kill you. And number two, she didn't follow through with her mission in the first place, so you're meant to kill him. You're trying to assassinate him, but you have children with him. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Sloppy. It's just sloppy. And the problem with this retcon is that Heihachi is an idiot. Really, what I mean by he's an idiot is that the previous games showcase Heihachi as always having plans in place in case whatever his current scheme is fails.
He was cold and calculated.
Exactly, just like Shao Kahn in the Midway timeline. He always has plans in place in case his current plan goes out the window. So tell me why you, as the person who is in charge of this multi-million-dollar company with all these different resources, you have labs, you can run experiments, you can do all this different crap. Why do you why do you do the most barbaric action and throw your son off of a cliff instead of bringing him into a lab and doing some tests on him?
Well, now that I think about it, another thing that doesn't make sense either, if Heihachi is full human and Kazumi is full devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means if you're going by the devil gene lore instead of the actual devil lore that was in Tekken 1 and Tekken 2 and Tekken 3, that means Kazuya is a half-breed. He's not a full breed at all. That's number one.
Even though they originally characterized him as a devil, but continue. He's
a half-breed. Number two, Jin is a quarter breed because Kazuya only has half, and he had intercourse with Jin Kazama to get Jin. So Jin is a quarter of a devil. So that means the gene pool of the devil gene has been so diluted to it should not be as strong in Jin as it is in Kazuya.
Meanwhile, they barely have any control over it.
Another thing that I wanted to point out is, so you want to throw your son off a cliff after snapping your wife's neck like a twig, knowing that you had intercourse with this woman. If your wife is a full-blown demon or devil, you mean to tell me you can't pull two and two together and say, well, if she's a demon or slash devil, by common sense, that means my son is either full devil or half devil. That's just, I'm pretty sure Heihachi isn't that stupid. They literally turned him into DBS Goku. You don't have to throw your son off a cliff to realize that. But I guess that they turned him full stupid. I don't understand. And the another thing that kind of pissed me off too is like when I looked at the the little pictures where they showed them as a happy family.
They're flashbacks.
Wait. So you mean to tell me that Kazuya cannot, throughout all of these games, he never mentions the times where he had a good time with his mom and dad at all ever? That never occurred because we have never seen that before ever. No, but
Another problem is
this shit is so stupid. It's actually
it's
really
dumb, yeah.
stupid.
It's frustratingly, it's just not consistent. That's the biggest problem. There's no consistency. There's no. It doesn't seem like they know what the fuck they're doing because you're telling me that Heihachi supposedly loved his family, right? He's no longer this ruthless dickhead to his father, right? He loved his father, he loved his wife, and he loved his son. So you're telling me, with you being the loving family man you are, your son who hasn't done anything to you, it's only your wife who's tried to kill you, you don't think to run experiments on your son. Meanwhile, when we see you later in Tekken 4, you run experiments on Ogre's blood to figure out how to make yourself immortal, but you won't do those very same experiments on your son to try to save his life. The very son of the woman you loved so dearly, you just didn't once stop to think to save him. Or better yet, if you
Try to
don't
save
want to
her,
run huh?
or try to save her instead of I'm just gonna kill her.
Or even better, I got one even better. If you don't want to run experiments on Kazuya, why don't you do it on the source of his power? Kazumi's body is right there. It doesn't disintegrate like it does in the arcade ending. You have the money and resources to figure out what the devil gene is and how to cure Kazuya, but you don't think to do that. Or let's get into a bunch of supernatural bullshit. In Tekken 4, Honmaru, the very temple that Jinpachi is currently locked under, there is a magical chain that has the power to nullify the power of the devil. Why not just give Kazuya those chains and prevent his devil powers from taking him over? Devil Jin's whole shtick is that he grows the wings and the tattoos and the chains because Jin loses his freedom to the devil. Just say that Kazuya loses his freedom to Heihachi. He has to wear these chains and Heihachi won't tell him why because he's so scarred. Oh, that my precious Kazumi died. And oh my god. When looking at Heihachi's character in this game, it feels like the writers of Tekken 7 watched Breaking Bad, but completely missed the point of Walter White's character. He's a sympathetic character for like the first 2 episodes. Other than that, the rest of the series is very clear about the fact that Walter is an insufferable man-baby who has a fragile ego.
They gave him several chances to redeem himself throughout the series.
He kills Jane, he lets Jane die, he shoots Mike because he won an argument, he sends Jesse to become a slave to Jack. He lets both of Jesse's girlfriends die, as a matter of fact. He supposedly wants to fund his family, and that's why he's cooking meth, but he doesn't just take Elliot's offer and work for Grey Matter because of his ego. And when it's all said and done by the end of the series, Walter White outright says that I liked it, I did it for me, I have no regrets about what I did. But the story outright tells you he's not a good guy. He did it for him. He's selfish.
It was his descent to madness.
Meanwhile, Tekken 7 showcases Heihachi just having the most random, out of fucking left heel turn out of nowhere. But we're supposed to feel sorry for him because... Why?
My thing is, I don't feel sorry for none of them. I don't feel sorry for Jin. I don't feel sorry for Kazuya. I don't feel... But the thing about Kazuya is we have seen throughout the story modes and throughout the games that he fully accepts it, embraces his role as being a villain now. He accepts it. He no longer has any... He doesn't want to be good. He's outright said it. I don't care. I want to do what I want to do. And ironically in Tekken 8, which is really funny, Kazuya pulls the ultimate Uno reverse card on Jin talking about, I'm going to stop you for all this. And I'm like, bro, look how many lives you have sacrificed just for this.
Right.
And you're supposed to be a good person. But the thing, that's what makes Kazuya likable to me, is because he's staying true to who he is as of now. Like, he's no longer trying to be the good guy. After 4, well, yeah, essentially after 2 when he died, he's a bad guy. And I'm all for that. But what Heihachi is, since Tekken 1, he was a ruthless dickhead. This guy...
Like, straight up.
He throws his son off a cliff and say, nigga, if you live, I'm gonna come back and beat your ass. And if you don't live, oh well, you ain't strong enough to be a Mishima anyway. Tekken 1 ends. He gets his ass whooped by his son. He comes back, whoops his ass son again, throws him into a volcano this time.
Right.
That'll get the job done. G-Corpse gets the body of essentially a destroyed Kazuya, rebuilds him back, and then he whoops his ass again.
Yeah. Like, but now all of a sudden, yeah, Kazuya, man, I really cared for you and your mother, and I wanted to bring back the milk. God damn it,
bro! I'm just saying, bro. As a Kazuya fan and as a Kazuya main, bro, Heihachi has sunned him at every chance he could, and the fact that the Tekken 7 story ended the way it did, like, he literally beat the devil out of that kid.
Literally.
And a punch in the chest kills him. But going back to the actual story mode, which doesn't make sense, like, how many times has Heihachi taken over the Mishima Zaibatsu?
He did it in Tekken 2, then he did it again in T7 because Jin was AFK. So.
And you want this guy to be the sympathetic hero? This is supposed to be Heihachi's story. It would have been a lot better if they just would have went down the route they've been doing T1 through essentially 6. He just let him die as a true villain. Let him die as what he was doing. You gotta think about it. People forget that Heihachi made everybody's life in that Tekken universe hell.
Literally.
When it comes down to Nina, he working for Nina, Lily impregnates Nina, has Steve, Anna and Nina working.
Or Michelle's parents.
Literally wakes up a fucking fighting god with a tournament. People forget the whole purpose of, like, if you look at the storyline, the whole purpose of the Tekken tournaments now were to invoke Ogre so he can, grasp those powers. And he literally sacrificed a good chunk of the Tekken 2 cast. Begdo-san almost was a cripple and was in a coma forever.
King died.
King literally died. Jun got beat into oblivion.
Jin is forever traumatized.
Jin is forever traumatized. Who else? Lee was just a practice dummy for his actual blood son. This guy is the guy that you want me to be sympathetic to. The one that literally said, I'm going to pillage and destroy whole villages and all this other stuff just for the sake
of power.
Literally in T3, he's literally smiling over the ruins, over the Aztec ruins. Fires engulfed. You got the Tekken Force dropping down, trying to claim shit. He literally pops a Captain Jin head, activating the Double Gene for the first time. This is the sympathetic guy, right?
And I have a better question. Why is Heihachi so... Why does he have this phobia of devils in Tekken 7 and he's having all these Kazumi flashbacks? But why were you trying to utilize the very devil's power that killed your wife in the previous games?
My thing is, why would he have a fear of a devil when he's literally consistently been beating devils since the beginning? Like, he really, because we gotta think about it, Tekken 7, supposedly, like, the flashbacks we've seen are pre-Tekken 1, and he literally snaps Kazumi's neck, which is a full devil, by the way, like a twig. It wasn't even a fair fight, like a twig. After the fight, when you look at the cutscene, he don't have a scratch on him. There was no signs of struggle.
I mean, that could just be due to the lazy Unreal 4 graphics, but...
And on top of that, he's been beating Kazuya consistently throughout the entire timeline. What fear of devils?
But then you want to use that very same power that destroyed your family for your own. Like, it's just... The whole
thing that you're supposed to be protecting people from in the first place, you want to use for your own power. This guy doesn't make any sense.
It's just not consistent. His character goes so all over the map in this game that I couldn't even fucking draw one. We don't need a villain to be sympathetic for us to like him. Shao Kahn isn't sympathetic. People still like him.
I like Shao Kahn because he's ruthless and cold. That's the reason why I like him.
Frieza isn't sympathetic. We still like him. We don't need extra layers to these characters for us to... And really, harping back onto the point I made in earlier, They're just copying off of NRS because NRS deep dived into Scorpion's character, and despite their stories being less than stellar, they added a bunch of stuff to him, for better or worse. Before Scorpion just came back from the dead to kill Sub-Zero, but then with MK Mythologies and then in MK9 and MKX, Quan Chi killed Scorpion's family, and Scorpion has to work to redeem himself because he works for the person who kills his family. He mistakenly kills Bihan, turning him into Noob Saibot. He kills Quan Chi too early, and he dooms the Revenants. But the difference is, this story doesn't tell you you should feel sorry for Scorpion, and Scorpion did nothing wrong. He has to face his mistakes. He learns from his mistakes. He becomes a better character because of it.
But my thing is, though, the key part in that people are forgetting is Scorpion was never a villain to begin with. He never was. Most of the MK cast, they just happen to be in the tournament by circumstance, going for their own thing. You got to think about it. Scorpion's been dead for, if you're going about the midway timeline, he's been dead forever. You really think he gives a fuck about what happens to Earthrealm? He doesn't care. He does not care at all. He just wants to settle his beef with essentially Kwai Lin at this point. He doesn't care about all that other stuff at all. And on top of that, at one point he was getting manipulated by Quan Chi towards the end of the midway games, MK4.
MK4.
But essentially, he was never a true villain to begin with. Your true villains were Shao Kahn and Goro and Shang Tsung, which is the GOAT, by the way. Everybody else, they're not really villains. They're fighting on their own volition. They're doing this for their own reasons. It's just like with the whole Street Fighter thing. Like, you can call certain characters villains, but they're not really villains. They're fighting for their own thing. They just happen to be there. Tekken, the whole thing that made Tekken great in the first place was that not most of the people in there are not villains. They're just fighting for their own thing. The true villain was Heihachi. If take Heihachi out of the equation, you don't have Tekken. You just don't.
Yeah, it's weird though, because you see Scorpion get a lot of backlash, or like you have Sasuke, right, who's driven, he's driven astray by his older brother, but he cares for his comrades. But because of Itachi in the back of his mind, it leads him to getting manipulated by Orochimaru. Then he learns that the village was the reason why Itachi led him to that point in the first place. Or you got Kratos getting abused and manipulated by the Olympian gods, and they trick him into killing his family. Meanwhile, you have all these people claiming stuff like Sasuke's an edgelord and he's a bad character, or you have people say Kratos is a man-child and he blames everyone else for his own mistakes.
Hold on, wait a minute. What we not finna do is disrespect the great Kratos like that. After all the shit he went through and God of War 1, 2, and 3, bro, he had every right to give them niggas to work.
Yeah, but it's like you have you see all these characters who have valid reasons for why they are the way they are, but then you have Heihachi in this abysmal narrative that goes all over the place, everything which is really his own damn fault. Meanwhile, we have videos claiming that Heihachi is a sympathetic villain, about in the mindset of Heihachi Mishima, of love and hate, and he's a good guy, even though everything happens because of him.
Like I said before, if you take out Heihachi, half of the events that happen in Tekken 1 and 2 does not happen at all.
It really... Ultimately, he's just a victim of this game's shitty writing and...
He's a great character, he's just been ruined. That's the problem.
It's just really the case with the whole second
Multiple, cast. Like the whole cast has been ruined. Like you gotta think about it. Eddie Gordo, as much as I hate Eddie Gordo, I really do hate that character.
Story-wise, he's fine.
Yeah, story-wise, he's fine. He got fucked over by Kazuya, right? He has every reason to want to get his get back at Kazuya, right? We then introduced T7. That was the most pitiful display of storytelling I've ever seen. You went from a guy that was literally taking down Tekken 4's fighters like it was nothing to getting bodied by a K-pop dancer that's supposed to be Kazuya's bodyguard. What is this shit?
Wasn't even there. Might I add, he missed the opportunity for his master's funeral. He had to miss his funeral because he was working in the Tekken Force, not realizing what he's done until it's too late. Couldn't even get his get back. And Christie's not in this game, so they haven't reconciled at all. But, in Tekken 8, the capitals are just gone. Oh, coffee, bitch. Oh, coffee, tea, coffee. Oh, coffee dance.
I'm just saying, I'm looking at Law as another character that they just violated. You mean you just tell me the same martial law that trained his son Forrest Law, which is one of the GOATs, by the way, and used to actively train with Paul, which is another GOAT, by the way. The same Paul that can beat regular ogre, ancient ogre. The same guy that can go with Kazuya blow for blow. This is the same guy that it takes both of these dudes just to fucking fight Fang Wei. The same dude that was trading blows with Brian. Come on, stop it, man. What is this?
He gets freaking smoked by Leroy Smith, a character we've never seen prior to this game.
Come on now, like what? They're going the Dragon Ball route with power scaling. Like, you mean to tell me?
Don't even get me started on how Paul lost to a freaking bear.
Not only that, right? Where was Leroy with Wang and Baek-Do-san and all the old heads in T6 before they stopped? Before they eventually passed away.
Nowhere to be found.
You would think that he would have, with his age, that he would have met Baek-Do-san and Wang and here's the thing: where's the descendant of Leroy? Cause that would have been great. Cause like remember, like every character has like a descendant for the most part. All the old characters, right? Mm-hmm. You got Baek-Do-san, you got Harang, you got Martial Law, you got Forest Law, you got Wang, you got Xiaoyu. There's always you got Jun, you got Asuka, Jun, Jun, whatever. You got Asuka.
Yeah, same thing.
You got Kazuya, you got Heihachi, you got Kazuya, you got Jin. There's always, where's the this game is so fucking retarded. This game is...
It's just clearly like they just didn't give a shit. And you were bringing up this point, the time period it came out. This was a time period where fighting games were just making cinematic story modes and not giving a shit about them.
Even with Brian makes sense. I'm like, you had Yoshimitsu and you had the Dr. Bogdanovich and Dr. Abel. You get Brian. Makes sense, right? You got, oh my God, you got Michelle. You get Julia.
It is funny though when you bring up the female characters examples, because a lot of those female characters, they end up getting wasted because of the fact that their stories don't go anywhere because Japan believes no one wants to play an elderly woman in a fighting game, so they just axe them from the roster altogether.
Meanwhile, they literally have in Street Fighter 6 Chun-Li celebrating her 50th birthday.
But of course, but she still looks young.
No, if you look at her face long enough, you can see that she's aging. But like, of course she's wearing makeup, but you can see that she's aging. Right? And there are 50-year-old women that look really good, and you'll be like, there's no way she's 50. I've seen it myself, like, there's no way you're 50. I don't give you a day past 35. But, they actively age their characters. I'm like, Tekken is stupid.
Yeah, it's just embarrassing. But moving on from Heihachi and his pitiful narrative, let's talk about his other half, Kazumi, because... good God, what a shitty, lame...
Hachijo clan, whatever their name is. Awesome.
Waste of a character. Just... oh boy.
The story mode would have been better without her, actually.
It would have, but... look, prior to Tekken 7 being released, there was a lot of theories going around as to what Kazumi was... what her significance was in the story, what her relationship with Heihachi was like, how she was going to play a part in Tekken 7's overall narrative, and so on. My favorite of those theories was from the main man, who theorized that the reason why Heihachi hated Kazuya so much was because his wife died giving birth to him. So every time Heihachi would look at Kazuya, he would be reminded of the death of his wife. So obviously when Tekken 7 released, with its amazing story mode, they showcased Kazumi's motivations in the story mode, how she went on to meet Heihachi, what her significance was in the story, and it all panned out in a really great way. You guys aren't buying this for a minute, are you? Anyway, nah, that was meant to be a comedic point. Moving from that, midway through the story,
I had my own thought. Because I found this really interesting. I'm like, wait a minute.
Go for it.
You have Jin, which utilizes. I'm talking about T3 Jin because people forget that he wasn't strictly a Mishima. He had a lot of Kazama fighting style along with Mishima Ryu fighting style, right?
Yep.
So why doesn't Kazuya have any of the fighting styles of Kazumi? Is it Kazumi is strictly Mishima? What? And hold on, if we're gonna put Kazumi in the game, right? She could still be Kazumi Mishima, but why isn't she using her clan's fighting style?
That's a really good question. I mean, you could make the argument that she trained alongside
Yeah,
Heihachi.
I get that, but I'm just saying though,
She
like,
should have her own moves. Yes.
and Jin trained under Heihachi and still used a lot of Kazama fighting style. Why wasn't the fighting style of the what I can't pronounce that name to save my life of her clan? Why was this not ever seen?
Why do something new when we can just copy off the Mishimas? It's just.
Now that I think about it, well, how interesting would it have been if Kazuya had a dual fighting style just like Jin did in T3?
Mixture of his moves and Kazumi's.
Yeah.
Would be really cool.
And that means Heihachi would have been the sole Mishima fighter. Like, he would have been, like, strictly Mishima Ryu. And when he dies, it would have gave more impact to the story because there's not another person that plays just like him.
Well, the closest thing we got to that is Kazuya just stealing Kazumi's key charge animation in T8. That's it. That's literally it.
That's fucking stupid.
Yeah. Midway through the story, Kazumi is name dropped here and there, but we don't actually get to see her until she just dies to Heihachi. The character who was retconned into being the entire reason as to why the Mishima feud starts in the first place, yet we don't even get to see her for most of the game. According to Heihachi, he and Kazumi were close and they became inseparable in a short amount of time, but we don't even get to see the Mishima family household before everything turns to shit, so that statement doesn't mean much. Show me the relationship between Heihachi and Kazumi. Don't tell me about it in a Google Slides presentation. Or even better, if you're gonna do it through the presentation, why not replace all the crappy narrator scenes with flashbacks to what the Mishima family was like? There's an idea. Would have been a lot more impactful than the minute I got back from Kyoto, I found out that my family had gotten killed in the war. I was devastated. How could my family have died in 9/11?
You sure do sound devastated, my boy. Yeah, that's true devastation right there.
As it stands,
I can feel the emotion.
Yeah, but like, look, as it stands, the story of the Mishimas has been told and changed too many times for it to make any sense, so no one really knows what the Mishima family was like prior to T1. And according to Kazumi, the Hachijo clan has been around forever, taking out threats like Heihachi, but why haven't we heard about this clan up until now? Why has this supernatural Azazel worshipping clan done nothing now that one of their members has failed their mission? I'll write that writing.
Not to be funny, but there's multiple clans like Master Raven's clan or Raven's clan. Then you have the Yoshimitsu clan. And you mean to tell me throughout none of this y'all couldn't tie this shit in at all?
Nope.
Because people forget about that Yoshimitsu is not only just a title of the next person who carries the actual sword named Yoshimitsu in the Manji clan. You mean to tell me with all these clans and all these age-old clans and all these old wise martial arts masters that none of these people has ever heard of this I can't pronounce it. Heard of this fucking clan. Nobody has ever heard of this shit. There has been so many chances for them to throw some Easter eggs besides Tekken 2.
Which no one even knew about at the time. What was even the point of her having a kid with Heihachi? If it was meant to be insurance in case she failed, that would explain it, but here's the biggest problem, because again, Tekken 7 just can't be consistent. The same hitman, aka Akuma, who Kazumi orders to take down Heihachi, she also tells him to take down Kazuya. Why didn't she just tell Kazuya to go train with Akuma?
Or like, why not have any kids in the first place if you know you're supposed to be an assassin?
But anyway, here's an even better point. If Akuma needed Kazumi to save his life, right? Why on earth would she think that he would be able to take out Heihachi if she failed the mission?
And then let's throw that other point in there. He waited for Heihachi to get stronger, so he was already strong enough to kill the person that saved your life. Let that sink in about how that doesn't make any sense at all. He was already strong enough to kill the person that saved your life, and he only got stronger since then.
And the whole point of you killing him was to prevent him from becoming a threat to the world.
Which he already has done. But he's already done. He already did that.
Jesus Christ, was Kazumi gonna kill Kazuya if she succeeded her mission? Like, good lord. And what
That
was
would
with
have
her?
that would have been real dark. That would have been real dark. That would have
It's
been real
just,
dark.
it would. And what the hell was with her random blackouts? Was that the devil in her taking over? I thought the Hachijo clan was supposed to be the origin point of the devil. Why
So they
make
should
this
have full control over it.
Exactly. Why make this clan of devil worshippers or devil originators or whatever the fuck if they can't even control the power that they're born with? Just, oh god.
So I'm guessing that Kazumi got digmatized, but she's supposed to be a trained assassin, and she just fell in love, and that's the whole. Wait a minute! If that's the clan and those are like a ninja-based thing, Kunoichis are trained to be like in the art of seduction and get a man at his weakest point and kill him. As many chances as she done had to kill that man, like just using common sense wise, this could have been over with a long time ago.
It's just, oh my god.
So not only do you not carry through with your mission, you get digmatized, and then you have a child by this man.
The whole point of you was the fact that you were supposed to stop this nigga from becoming a threat. But because of you, oh my god, you made the threat you were trying to kill. And we never once throughout this game story is the Hachijo clan's link to the devil ever explained. All we're given about her link to the devil is the song Demon Be Gone in one of the chapters. The Crimson River is being in place of the bloodline in a vein of lava, contrasting with the Japanese flower in that very cutscene meaning autumn. Something withering and dying, a demented sign of new life. Shouts out to Gizo Gatai for deciphering that because I know I would never been able to figure that out on my own.
I just thought it looked cool, not gonna lie to you. But they did a better thing of describing Eliza.
Yeah, a character who no one cares about. You know,
but now it went from demons to ogres to vampires
to exorcists to fucking evil swords from Soul Calibur because the Yoshi's the same. It's the same sword from Soul Calibur.
But the thing is, canonically, that story has enough power to destroy anybody in the Tekken universe with relative ease.
Meanwhile, Yoshi gets beaten up by freaking Leo in their interlude. Oh my god. You know, despite the whole Demon Be Gone song, Kazumi being so comedically evil is just never explained in this game, and it never explains why Heihachi becomes such a dick. It's just so confusing, and
you would think he would go into solitude. I did that on purpose. He would go into solitude after he snapped her neck like a twig and not want to be bothered. You would think.
It just doesn't make any sense. Nothing about it makes sense. And again, I think I know the real reason why she was introduced. Obviously, we've been harping on how stupid the Devil Gene is, but we're gonna have to go through it. The devil wasn't originally this Devil Gene crap. It just wasn't. It was originally
it made sense.
It was originally Kazuya making a pact with the devil in order to gain power to defeat Heihachi. Once Kazuya achieved his goal and he got his revenge, the devil would take over his mind and body. That was the original story, and it was showcased in Tekken the motion picture. And it made sense. It was simple that way. Tekken 2 comes along. Kazuya has the battle within himself. Okay, and Jun comes along and she weakens his power of the devil. That's why he can't focus during Tekken 2, and that's why he loses to Heihachi. Tekken 3 comes along. The devil left Kazuya and it went to go take over Jin. That's why Jin has the tattoo. It's all good, it all makes sense, but then comes along Tekken 4 and we got this Devil Gene crap, and everything just goes downhill from here.
Look, man. Tell you like this here, bro.
That sigh.
It's like thinking about it in like real time. They just don't care. There's just no way you can tell me that you couldn't make anything better than that. Matter of fact, if Heihachi would have just stayed dead in T1 after T1 and had Kazuya be the new canon villain, that would have made a lot more sense, like story driven wise. He's a new threat, he has a son, blah blah blah, T3. Then that makes sense. T3? Tekken 8 should have been T3!
Expand.
What was the point of bringing Heihachi back if you already know that his mind and body was supposed to be controlled by the devil, right?
Right.
And, you know, he fulfilled his prophecy, killed his father, blah, 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 supposedly killed his father. What was the point of bringing him back? They already resolved the plot. Heihachi's dead. Now it's Kazuya's turn. He sold his soul to the devil. Now he has to face the better storyline. He has to face the exact same consequences that his father did. The consequence of revenge.
And the price of power.
But no, what do? We bring Heihachi back, throw Kazuya off a fucking volcano into some damn lava. Oh right, I forgot all about that. After that, summon a whole fucking ogre. Literally obliterates half of the T2 cast. Just for Kazuya to come back. And I know I love T4, and I love T3, and I love T2, and I love that. But if I had my own choice, if I had to rewrite the entire storyline where it makes sense, Heihachi would have never came back after T1. There's no purpose for him to come back. He's already dead. He will come back in games like Tekken Tag Tournament 1, Tekken Tag Tournament 2. That would make sense. Makes perfect sense. They're filler games. They're meant just for fun and shits and giggles. But when it comes down to the main storyline, if I want people to take the story seriously, why would I keep bringing these characters back? There's already somebody that's going to fulfill the new Kazuya role. Jin, his son. There's already about to be somebody that's going to fill Heihachi's old role, Kazuya. Why do I keep bringing this fucking character back?
And he's just like, he was just evil for the sake of being evil. I like Heihachi in the old games. He was funny and ruthless in the old games. But like you said before, he doesn't really do anything after T4.
Oh, that's all I'm saying, man. Like, and on top of that, if Jun was to be still be a playable character or a main character in the main storyline, one of the alternate endings could have been her actually trying to literally save Kazuya. It's literally fucking T8. It's T8. T3 should have been T8.
No. Just the double gene, it causes so many problems, because what if it's double gene, right? The term gene implies it's transmitted through blood. Genetics. So that means, what was the point of Jin getting a tattoo on his fucking arm by this devil spirit if he already had the power of the devil fucking in himself to begin with?
What's the point of Jun saying, I'm going to save you, when you can't do it because it's genetic? He has a genetic predisposition to it. It's going to happen whether you try or not. You can't help it.
It just doesn't make... And then the problems just continue, because then we get fucking Jinpachi in Tekken 5, right? Then his Tekken 5 ending, and Heihachi's interlude with him, claims that Devil's Blood or no Devil's Blood, you can't beat me. And they say that the devil took over Jinpachi in T5, right? But then they retcon it to an evil spirit because they realize how stupid that was. Then we get Tekken 6, we get Azazel, a character we never heard about before. It turns out he's the origin point in the devil gene. But then
now it's the Hachijo clan.
Then Jin kills him. Right? Jin kills Ogre. I was about to say Ogre. Jin kills Azazel. That doesn't get rid of the devil gene. And then Tekken 7 comes along. Not only did you fail to get rid of the devil gene, you failed to get rid of freaking Azazel, as confirmed by Safina, because she had to link herself to what was remaining of him. And then on top of that, we get this freaking Hachijo clan, who we have never seen or heard about before. Turns out they worship Azazel or whatever the hell. Even though I can't find that piece of information at all. It's not said in the game. And I know there's probably a wiki somewhere, or some piece of lore, or some distant bit of marketing material I can look up to find out how Kazumi's clan is linked to Azazel. But honestly, I shouldn't need that. The fact that the information that the game itself presented, into which this character was introduced, the fact they couldn't tell me anything, that's a failure on this game's story.
They don't care, dude. They just simply don't care. There are so many holes that we're pointing out that we didn't even point out last time. But my thing is, like, story-wise, right? Like I was saying before, if Heihachi stays dead, Jin becomes the new Kazuya. And here's the thing, that Jin has a better chance of fighting off this whole devil crap than fucking Kazuya did, because if you look at Kazuya, all he had was literally Jun. Everybody else was trying to kick his ass.
Yeah, it was just Jun. It was just Jun. But no matter of fact, no, it wasn't just Jun, because then we had fucking Angel.
Well, they talk about how that was in his head, the whole devil angel shit.
Yeah, it was in his head, but that doesn't make any fucking. Where do you get this whole Angel persona out of fucking nowhere? Why hasn't she come back yet?
Well, you know, the whole eye thing, what the main man Sweet was talking about, how one eye is supposed to represent this angel side, the other eye is supposed to represent the demon side.
Devil. Yeah, I get all that, but that doesn't work when it's just bad blood from your mother that turns you into Two-Face.
And not to mention, now, that's what I'm saying, going to story-wise, if I was to change story, Jin has a better chance, think about it. He has more than a few friends. He has a love interest, he has actual friends, like Horong, and actual rivalries, you know. He has, if you want to go by the lore of what's out now, he has Lars that doesn't fucking hate his guts now. Mm-hmm. He has a better chance. You know, it would make sense. But, you know, fuck that. Bring back Heihachi, make him sympathetic, kill him again, and now have T8.
And then on top of bro, we haven't even touched on this, but look, I'm treading on thin ice here. Tekken is just copying off of Naruto. They're just copying off of Naruto.
Bro, what are you talking about? They're copying off of everybody. You're not treading on thin ice. It's the truth. They're copying off of everybody.
Bro, for one, we have this Hachijo clan who we've never fucking heard about before. Kazumi's devil form, she gains plastic fucking fire wings. She turns white. Her skin and her hair turns white. Bro, she's just a knockoff Kaguya. This is just the Otsutsuki clan crap all over again. This clan we've never heard about before, never seen about before, has more impact on the story than the actual characters that we've been following for years. Yes. Changes the narrative completely. Then we have Heihachi, and he has like 25 different kids who we've never seen, who are obviously going to be playable characters later down the road.
Remember, he was grieving his wife. Don't forget that he was grieving his wife.
Of course.
Grieving his wife.
It was just so tragic. He also, for some reason, thought that he himself had the devil gene, and that's why he had Lars. Even though the original point of him having Lars was just he was horny.
But he knew he didn't have the double gene from Tekken 7. That was the whole point. That was the whole point of him throwing his son off the cliff in the first place. The fuck are they talking about?
That's why he had Lars. That's what the game says. That's why Lars was born, because Heihachi wanted to see if he wanted to confirm if he had the devil gene or not. Again, won't use his multi-million-dollar company, won't run any experiments on himself, won't do anything like that, but he'll throw his son off the cliff.
Wait a minute.
Experiments on Ogre's blood.
You think that just because you fuck some demon pussy is gonna turn you into one? I'm assuming.
Multi-million-dollar company with a research lab right there. It's literally right there. It's right there.
And if you're going by the old lore, bro, he made a pact with the devil. You don't have the devil gene, my boy. You just don't.
And this devil gene, it just weakens so much. It just, number one, it damages previous scenes, like the Tekken 3 intro. It damages Jin having the tattoo on his arm.
Then they try to convert the tattoo to a Kazama tattoo.
But why? Why? What? It was clearly the devil in the TV.
Wait a minute! If he's a Kazama, he should have resisted the tattoo in the first place.
He shouldn't even have the tattoo because he already had the devil's blood in him.
And not only that, he's a fucking Kazama, which naturally stops the. This fucking shit is stupid.
And on top of that, Kazuya. This is a small thing, but Kazuya should not have. There are two things Kazuya should not have anymore. Number one, Kazuya should not have the red eye. He lost that when he took control of Devil in Tekken 4. That's number one. Number two, Kazuya's final devil form with the eye popping out of his chest and shit. Number one, that looks so whack. He shouldn't have access to that either, because in his Tekken 4 ending, he outright... This nigga...
He only has half.
Yeah, he only has half, and that was the point of him trying to kill Jin in the first place. Hey, mods, you know what to do.
Who was that?
Don't worry about it.
Was it Burger Man?
Yeah, Burger bitch. Oh, wait, no, it's a burner account.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. But anyway.
And... anyways. Zeku, I'm making you a moderator. You know what to do. Order 66, any weirdos. Anyways, continue, Scrub.
I was just saying, like, the whole reason him getting that devil marking doesn't make sense, considering that his bloodline is Kazama blood style. And he was talking about T4, and he's like, the reason why I cannot access the other half is because of that damn Kazama blood. So why the fuck did he get a tattoo in the damn first place? That just doesn't make any fucking sense. And then now you want to talk about it's a Kazama tattoo. I'm like.
And then for some reason, Jinpachi's presence just somehow makes Jin snap, and that makes him transform into fucking Devil Jin. It just.
Even though Jin literally has no connection to Jinpachi whatsoever, literally none.
Why does? But when Kazuya transforms into his double form, Jin doesn't fucking throw a fit.
I don't fucking know. For the love of me,
I thought he had a matter. Doesn't Jin? He should already have control over it because he used some of the devil's power in Tekken 6 to try to kill Azazel.
Dude should have had full control after 4. He literally said, "You know what? The only reason why I'm not gonna kill you is because of my fucking mother." He literally said he had full fucking control, but in T5 he was spazzing the fuck out
multiple times. Then he spazzes out in T6 against Horang or whatever. Then he spazzes out again in T7 because he turns into Devil Jin again, gets beaten by Horang again somehow. And now we're
doing that nigga Horang giving that nigga the boot, bro.
Bro. And then it's like Tekken 7. This is a waste of the character chapters. Why was there not a character chapter of Jin fighting Devil Jin within his own mind? To explain why he had control over it by the end of the story. But then he doesn't even have control over it in Tekken 8 because, spoiler alert, Devil Jin is going to be his own character. So we're still doing this weird thing of Jin either having control of the devil, but then he doesn't have control of the devil. Then he
you know what's crazy? The only time that the devil and like another character has been his own separate character was like Tag 1 in the same game. But that made sense because the devil was his own separate entity in Tag 1. No, because in Tag 2 you can turn into Devil
Tekken
Kazuya.
2 and Tag 1.
Oh yeah, Tekken 2 because Devil was his own character.
Devil was first character.
But that makes sense because he was his own fucking character. But and fucking shit is retarded, man.
It just doesn't make. It just keeps.
I'm literally getting a headache. I'm getting a headache.
The story just keeps spinning its wheels. It makes the characters so uninteresting. Like Kazuya, bro. It's such a generic. He's not even a character. He's a caricature of somebody who's meant to be unapologetically evil. Tekken the motion picture, despite having a laughable English dub, it's got a better story than anything Tekken's been able to do with its mainline games following T6.
You know the reason why this is going to keep happening? The reason why this is going to keep happening is because no matter what, they're going to keep buying these games.
It's pretty much.
Look, I told you there there must be a nigga gene in Tekken because it's something about niggas in that fucking game. I don't know what it is. I've been asking questions when we had that conversation with Fox. I'm not even trying to throw him under the bus like that, but it's a common thing when I ask people. The game fucking sucks, the story sucks, the gameplay fucking sucks, and the netcode is horrible. Why do you continue to buy this product? Because I like Tekken. It's literally like Nike shoes. They sell themselves. You don't have to do anything. The product literally sells itself. It sells itself.
I don't like Dragon Ball, but why do I watch Dragon Ball Super?
It sells itself. They're buying the name. They're not buying the game. They don't care about the game. They just want to play another iteration of Tekken. And the thing about it is, they keep nostalgia baiting. That's what Tekken 7 essentially was. It's nostalgia bait.
Fucking nostalgia bait, dude. All the Tekken 1 flashbacks, the Tekken 5 flashbacks which didn't really even serve a purpose in the story, might I add.
It's all nostalgia bait, and they're going to keep doing it. It's because this average person is too. They're like, man, I work hard. I don't want to think about story and all this other stuff. So you rather just denigrate yourself to being a dumbass and paying full price for a half-ass product. I'm standing by it, bro. I will have to see what Tekken 8 really does if I ever even consider buying that game. Just for me to consider it.
It's just so wacky and Look, I'm not saying I want Kazuya or like the characters to repeat their same arcs every single game, right?
That's why I gave you when I was making kill Heihachi and it doesn't repeat anymore.
Yeah,
It forces them to move the story along.
Yeah, because like Sega did that in 2005 with Shadow the Hedgehog, and we all saw how that game story turned out. It was fucking garbage, by the way.
That game was fun. I don't care.
But in all seriousness, it's like the character. It's just frustrating to like when the story goes bad on you, and we haven't even talked about one of the dumber parts of the story. Fucking Akuma. Everything about Akuma. Oh my goodness. Oh my god, the huge elephant in the room, the demon in the room, I should say. How you feel about Akuma, story-wise, in this game?
I'm still to this day, after 6 years of playing this shit, trying to figure out why is this character here. Literally the way, because they're trying to retcon who Akuma is, in lore-wise. Akuma would never take on the task of being a hitman for anyone. Akuma is essentially, he's just here to fight the strongest person. That's it. He doesn't care about your politics. He don't care about your family origins. He don't care about none of that shit. He just wants to fight. That's all Akuma is. So for him to be taking up a contract or taking up a word, all you say, Akuma would not allow somebody to save his life. He would rather die. That's not Akuma.
It's just.
Have they even played Street Fighter to understand who Akuma actually is, bro?
Of course not.
What is Akuma? If you, I don't know if you play Street Fighter or not, but Akuma's main thing is death matches. The only reason why he allowed Ryu to live is because he wanted him to get stronger. He wants death matches. He literally killed his own master. But people forget, and I know Zeku knows this, but people often forget that the whole purpose of the Atsusoken is to actually kill your master, and that's a rite of passage. That's what he did. He killed Gotetsu with the Raging Demon. That is the reason why Gotetsu is no longer a thing. Goken took another route. Goki or Akuma. No, Goki or Akuma. Goki means demon. Right. Or Akuma essentially wants the strongest fighters. Has nothing to do with good or bad, evil, and he don't care about none of that shit. He just wants to fucking fight. The reason why he killed Bison is because he thought that Bison was the strongest thing there. Then he goes fighting Ryu and realized that, hey, he has the same potential to tap into the Satsui no Hado as I do, and I want to see his fullest potential. That's Akuma. Why the hell would he ever go say, you know what, I need you to save my life because I'm scared of death? Just look at Akuma. Do you think this nigga will want you to intervene in his fight?
Nope.
And the only reason why he spared another character, which name is Gen, the only reason why he spared Gen is because he realized that it wasn't a fair fight and the dude was damn near dead before the fight even started. That is the only reason. Goki or Akuma is not a villain or no kind of contract hit killer or anything. And what doesn't make sense is why would a clan of assassins hire somebody else to do assassinations? Hey, let me take this down. I'm about to leave. I just said that out loud and that doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's just so fucking... Oh my god. It's like... Then the way she saved him, that's never even explained in the story at all, so that was a pointless plot point. And I have the more pressing issue, why the fuck does Akuma look the same 50 years ago as he does in the present day?
Well, Street Fighter 5 ages Akuma. I don't know what the fuck they doing.
He should have a beard of some kind. It's just nostalgia. That's the
only
reason
the thing is they're lazy. They used the Street Fighter 4 version of Akuma because it's easier to render versus the Street Fighter 5 version with more detail. Street Fighter 5 he starts off with this big ass beard like a lion's mane. In Street Fighter 4 he's clean shaven.
It just It just doesn't make any sense to me.
And also, if we're talking about canonically in Street Fighter 4, why did when he fought Kazuya, if he really wanted to kill him, which he normally does, because that's what he does, he kills people in their fight. He only wants death matches. Why didn't he go to Oni form? They gave y'all Shin Akuma, but people who play Street Fighter knows about his Oni form. He gets fully consumed by the Sasui no Hado and has no control over whatsoever. Because Goki has two forms.
Doesn't even use them. He doesn't use them at all in this game. And then you have Heihachi surviving the Raging Demon, and you're like, bro.
This is the same Raging Demon that killed Gotetsu and left fucking
Bison had to go into a whole different body to survive the Raging Demon,
and left Goken damn near comatose.
And then Heihachi he gets hit by it, and then he just stands up like nothing happened.
I was waiting for you to get stronger.
Yeah, nice plot hole. Also, you have the fact that Heihachi didn't even go into his final form to fight Akuma. Neither did Kazuya. So I'm really confused as to whether or not Akuma would be able to pull off the job.
Well, going back to the point we made earlier, if the person that saved your life, you're asking them to kill the people, that shit is so fucking retarded.
That you yourself couldn't even beat, and you had to save him in the fucking first place.
But even though canonically, fucking Akuma is stronger than everybody in the tech, this nigga can blow a fucking island up with his damn palm.
And meanwhile, he's struggling with a fucking decrepit old man. This entire story just reads like shitty fan fiction. You have Kazumi, her unexplained link to the devil, and she comes from some secret clan. Heihachi's in a love story like it's fucking Romeo and Juliet, and then his wife is best friends with Akuma from Street Fighter.
Akuma doesn't have friends. Akuma doesn't do friends. In the Alpha movie, he literally says, when I fight alone. He don't do friendships. Where I walk alone. He don't do friendships.
This game's story just sucks. That's the main theme here, is that the story sucks, even though it had every single opportunity. Because underneath all this crap, there is some potential for a decent story. But it just doesn't. Like, honestly, if they did this current story, right, with everything they have on the table, I want to retcon Heihachi, I want to make him a good guy, even though it wasn't going to work. I want to introduce Kazumi, I want to introduce Akuma into the story. If they at least tried, with their story, I can at least say, well, you know what, it's not consistent with the previous games, it contradicts the previous games, but at least you didn't make a story that totally sucks. That's the biggest problem here. It's not just that it's not consistent. It's not just any of that. It's the fact that you didn't even try. You have this narrator who gives a worse vocal performance than Ronda Rousey as Sonya Blade. You have Akuma coming out of freaking nowhere, contributing nothing to the plot. Both of these two factors that take up most of the screen time from the actual Tekken characters we want to
Putting
see.
Geese in here saying that Mishima Line's in here.
Right, oh god, the guest fighter. We'll get on to guest fighters. Don't y'all worry. You have Kazuya becoming a nothing character, a caricature of an evil person. You have Jin not contributing anything to the story. Claudio has no character. Lars has no character. Lee's entire character is just saying excellent 24/7.
And here's the thing, Lee could have been a potential character to be really fucking great. If you look at the fucking goddamn, if you look at the ending of Tekken 7, it's like the Avengers assembled.
Oh god, no, it really is. It really is.
You got Alyssa, Lars, Lee, Zhao Yu, Jin,
and Claudio.
It's the fucking Avengers, bro.
It's so bad. It's so and again, it's just ripped off of NRS because they did the same crap with freaking MK11 and and MKX, with all the good guys lining up to fight the bad guys. It's so cringy. It's so bad. It's so bad, and it's hard to take seriously. You know you have a writing problem when I laugh at every single attempt at you being serious. or being sad, and any attempt at a comedic point, I just roll my eyes. Good God, man.
That nigga Jen said, woke up and it's time to stop everything.
Even, oh my God. Then he gets beaten
Hey,
up by
I'm tired
fucking
of these
Adele.
characters talking like they acting like they're playing 4D chess. I'm like, Jen, you was just being stupid.
It was fucking God. It's like you didn't even get the job done against.
What?
Azazel.
Hold on. What does bombing fucking nigga's marriage have to do with Azazel?
Well, he had to cause evil in the world, and he had to cause evil and hatred in the world. So fine, I get that.
But haven't you caused enough with your own family?
Well, it's just is.
You want to cause some evil? Just go kill Kazuya.
Well, according to Jin, it was like Azazel is coming, right? He was saying, oh, because of the evil from Tekken 1 up all the way up to Tekken 5, Azazel was being awakened, but he wasn't fully awakened yet. So
what the fuck is this? The GT Dark Star Dragon Balls?
Yeah, so essentially Jin's whole plan was, okay, if we don't kill Azazel now, when I'm dead later on, who's going to be able to take him out while I'm dead? That was Jin's whole thing. That's why he awakened Azazel. I know, sounds wacky, sounds like a rip off the
It
GT.
It sounds like Dragon Ball Z and GT, the Dark Star Dragon Balls and Awakening Majin Buu.
I know. It was like, so Jin had to kill him there, but then they couldn't even be consistent. They couldn't just leave that plot point alone, because we had to bring Azazel back. He's alive within Zafina. And she doesn't have control over it.
What is up with characters not being able to control shit?
It's just... Oh my God.
But you mean to tell me Yoshimitsu can control a fucking evil ass blade like Yoshimitsu? I mean, it eats his flesh.
He can barely control that either. He can barely control that.
But at least he shows that he tries, bro. Like, when you look at Tekken 7, Zafina doesn't even fucking try. I can't control it. Stabs you to fucking death.
The rest of the roster has just been completely bastardized from the shitty writing. And this doesn't even apply to only Tekken 7. This is an issue that peeped its head out all the way back to Tekken 5. Good God, Tekken 5.
T5 was the beginning of the end story-wise, but it was arguably one of the best fighting games ever made.
It's definitely one of the better Tekken games, but for the impact, that's where all the sloppiness in the writing begins. And again, comparing it to Naruto, just like how Naruto Shippuden focused too much on Naruto and Sasuke, not giving any of the side characters enough time to breathe. I was about to say Dragon Ball. Tekken did the exact same thing because all the characters became bastardized. Paul Phoenix. My God, Paul Phoenix.
Who the fuck is Paul Phoenix?
Just completely reduced his IQ level to it was so embarrassing after Tekken 4 and those endings and all of them really making you
Bro, I'm not gonna lie.
Tekken
4 Paul ending is the most American shit I've ever seen.
What, driving off into the sunset?
Driving off into the sunset, bro, that was some of the most American shit.
Well, but even then with Tekken 4 Paul's ending, what I liked about it is how realistic it was. And that
he just said that ain't my style, bro. He was like, look, man, this flash and glamour shit, this ain't for me, man. I'm a fighter.
Yeah, he stays true to himself. And honestly, being humble in the face of success, learning to be keeping yourself humble and not losing sight of who you are when you become successful, that's a really good theme. As limp though it all was, it was a really good theme for such a short ending. It was really good.
No, fuck all that. He hangs out with Law and get like
Oh yeah, gets beaten up by a butt chin by an Asian dude with a butt chin.
Not only that, he's over there and they're fighting over a bathroom because somebody put
oh yeah, laxatives in their fucking pizza.
Laxatives in their pizza because it.
Your mic cutting out.
Oh, I said funny. Ooh, hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much what Tekken does, and that's a huge issue with Tekken's current story, is that they try to, when they don't know what to do with the character, they just say, fuck it, I'm gonna make it funny. And they just fails every single time, because, oh my god, Dragunov's endings, Dragunov's ending in T6, he just blows up Elisa. Oh, it's funny. It's meant to be funny. Oh, who else? Anna and Nina, all of their endings is just them screwing each other over. It's funny. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Bruce had solid character endings in the older games, but he doesn't get to come back.
You know what's crazy is Dragunov's supposed to be this militant, smart, dictator leader kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, we ain't gonna do that.
Fuck it. Humor. So much better than an impactful story. And the bastardization of the roster, like, oh my god, Asuka Kazama, the
The most hated
biggest,
character to me. I hate that fucking character.
bro. She is such a wasted character, man. It's
Her
she,
and Lily.
bro. Well, Asuka really is just a product of them shoving Lily into the freaking game because Asuka on her own, if you just tie her into the Mishima plot, get rid of Lily, have her bother that coffee bitch instead, Asuka could be a solid character. But they just
Or
waste her every
have her
time.
go after Fang Wei like she was supposed to.
She hasn't even addressed Fang Wei after Tekken 5. Tekken 6 she ignored him. Tekken 7 she ignored him. And now all of a sudden they have a special intro in T8.
Right.
Because that makes a lot of sense.
I'm telling you, bro. It's the best shit ever, man.
It's just so good, bro.
Don't think about it. Just consume product, man. Just buy the next game.
Well, of course, fighting games aren't about story mode, right? We can't have a solid fighting game and a solid story, right? The two are mutually exclusive.
I would break it off into two teams. One team that works on the gameplay aspect and one team that works on the story mode aspect.
It's just, God. And when they don't know what to do with their story, they focus on spectacle. Or they focus on wow factor. That's why all the guest fighters are so... I can't tell you a single... Like, the guest fighters all have a single character trait. Geese is just comedically evil. Geese and Negan are comedically evil. Noctis is a freaking anime side character. And that's it. That's literally it. And it's
But
a shame.
niggas get hyped for it, though.
But it's a real shame, though, because, like, Negan in The Walking Dead... In the actual series, Jeffrey D. Morgan not only doesn't give a bad performance, Negan is actually one of the better characters in that show, and he has a lot of depth and layers to him underneath all the charisma.
You can't say he's good. You can't say he's evil either.
Nope, he's not. Because he's actually he's one of the better characters in that show. Exactly. And you know his arc of redeeming himself after killing Abraham and Glenn. He redeems himself because he saves Glenn's son. That was really good. It was really good. Even if the cast doesn't like him, they treat him like shit. He still does the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. But in Tekken 7, he just tells jokes. Or Master Raven says something to him, he just says a joke. Brian says something to him, he just says something.
And they ruined one of his best lines when he was before.
You're Mike.
Cool. Oh my bad. They ruined one of his best lines when he was saying "not cool." And he like not cool at all right before he was about to kill, bro. And they like, yeah, go. Let's ruin that.
You just have him say it every single time with his freaking power crush. And then Noctis just got bastardized in this game, and it doesn't help that they have terrible customization options. They don't fit at all with the theme of the fighting game because they both fight with weapons. Then you have 2D characters who just spam projectiles. They're insufferable to fight against. And then
they
you
literally break the
them
mechanics of the game. Like, let's say you're pressuring Akuma while he has meter. Can't pressure him because if he EXDPs, you're screwed.
He can jump over your mids.
Right, he can do that too. He can jump over your mid, got the anti-air a certain way, and on top of that, he can literally break. If you say do down 4-1 and then jab, or jab down 4-1, you're getting instantly EXDP'd. Even sometimes, even if it's a true block string, he doesn't care.
Literally.
he doesn't care at all, so yeah.
It's just so late.
And when you bring this kind of stuff up, they'll say, well, Tag 2 was just so bad. So, like, this game is so better than... I'm like, no, it's not.
Let's say that is the case, right? Then that Tekken 7 is better than Tag 2. If that game is the black sheep of the franchise, and this is the thing we got after, that's not saying much. Ain't no reason why a PS1 game had more content and a better story than this game. That's pathetic.
Yeah, Tekken 3 had a lot of shit. It had Tekken Ball, it had
unlockable characters.
Tekken Force, unlockable characters.
Better soundtrack.
Look, man, T1 through T4, them soundtracks are just too good, bro. That's back when they actually cared. They actually cared back then. But you know why they cared? Because they were trying to convince you that their game is good and that you should buy it.
Because they weren't
That's
making
the
that much
reason
money
why.
compared to now.
Now that they have money, they don't give a shit. Because they say, well, we don't have to make a good product.
And
Street
niggas keep
Fighter
buying
6
it.
learned from their mistake from Street Fighter 5. And here's the thing, throughout Street Fighter 5, it got progressively better. Throughout Street Fighter Tekken 7, it got progressively worse.
Yep.
But see, Tekken 7 fans, they will say Tekken the flow chart of Tekken 7 fans. You say you don't like Tekken 7, you must suck at the game. You actually are good at the game, or
If you hate the
you're
game,
just
why
a
do you
hater.
play it?
If you hate the game, why do you play it? If you say that because I'm a real fan, they say you're just a hater. Or if you say if you say you're not a hater, they say, well, you need to grow up with the times. Things change.
Every
Or
time.
if you say, yeah, things can change, but this is just absolute crap, they say, well, esports is popping, and this game sold the amount of the greatest amount of copies ever.
Yep.
And I say, well, Harada just doesn't care. And he's like, well, Harada does care. Look what happened with Tag 2 to T7. I'm like, it's a fucking flowchart.
Every time. Every time. Every time. Like this. Oh god, like it's just not good. This narrative, what they did with T7, it was just embarrassing, honestly. Like
When the guest characters carry the game, there's a problem.
The guest characters carrying the game?
Yes, when you have guest characters like, well, I can't even say Akuma's a guest.
He is.
You have characters like Akuma, Geese. These characters are like the top tiers of the. Everybody who plays KOF know what the fucking Geese is.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who plays Street Fighter knows who Akuma is. Everybody who watched The Walking Dead knows who Negan is. Well, if you're a newer Final Fantasy fan, of course you're gonna know who Noctis is. But if you're an old schooler like me, I don't really give two fucks about it. But he's the face of the new franchise, essentially, like, or one of the faces of the new franchise. Nobody gives a fuck about the Tekken characters in that game.
People were requesting more guest fighters than actual Tekken characters for DLC.
And guess what what Street Fighter 6 did? You know what the main knocks on Street Fighter 6? Oh, the roster is small. Guess what they did, though? They introduced new, interesting characters to the damn game.
Obviously, Street Fighter 6 does move a bit mad when it comes to the fan service, but that game is way better than
I will take that fan service over them never listening to me at all.
And I know they are going through a bit of backlash right now because, like, they got $25 skins or whatever the fuck, and I know people aren't too happy with SF6 right now. But that game.
No, people are mad about Street Fighter 6 is because the developers are running their damn mouth talking about the game was supposed to be in modern the entire time and that you're lucky that you got classic. I'm like, you shouldn't bite the hand that feeds you.
Right. But SF6 had a better release than T7. That's the point I'm trying to make here.
Of course it did.
Way better release than this shit. And it's like there's so many things about this game and its story that doesn't make sense. Like there was this one chapter, there's one part of near the end of the story mode where Heihachi has this big freaking laser and he has this genius plan. I'm gonna dox Kazuya's double form and I'm gonna shoot him with the big fucking laser afterwards. He had this whole double killing Dr. Abel laser out of nowhere, the whole story, and he was in charge of the Mishima Zaibatsu the whole time, and he didn't just once think to kill Kazuya while he's still in his human form. You're gonna do it while he's in his amped up devil form. And then you're gonna act surprised when it doesn't kill him.
Doesn't make sense, bro. And the thing about it is, no matter what we say, Tekken 8 is gonna do good by default. People have already pre-ordered that game in mass.
They have. And that story is just they're making so, like, we already touched on, like, Heihachi having multiple kids being stupid, but then you bring back Shaheen, such a boring, uninteresting character who served nothing to this story. Barely has any relation to any of the characters we've been following, but you screw over Miguel. You screw over Eddie Gordo.
Literally, bro, he literally did nothing throughout out of Tekken 7 at all. He was.
Your mic.
Oh, my bad, I'm just talking. He's just boring as fucking dry.
He is. Like, he's just a Rashid knockoff. Like, Rashid, whether you like him or hate him, at least he has a personality.
Yeah, I hate Rashid, but I gotta admit he's fun. Like he's a goofy, fun character that has fun, and you hate fighting him, but you love the character overall. Strong as shit, but he's a jokester, knows how to have a good time. You love him.
Rashid is just absolutely boring.
Shaheen. Yeah, Shaheen is just... He's such a nothing character. He does nothing. His personality is so nothing. His designs are boring. Like, it's just not... Overall, this game story, it's abysmal. It's a product of Bandai Namco's lack of care or polish or effort for the series at all, which is embarrassing because Tekken 4, like, we've had good stories before. Namco can do better. In the past, they've given us better. Tekken 4, best story in the freaking franchise. Tekken 3, solid story. Tekken 2, solid story. Tekken 1, solid story. But from that point onwards, they've just been spinning their wheels. Why do the Tekken Tag Tournament games have a better story than this shit?
Look, I don't know, man. And the fact of the matter is, like, Tekken 7 players, I realize Tekken players, they don't pay attention to the games. I'm like, have you seen the Tekken 8 models? I'm like, they're just as emotionless as the Tekken 7 models. Emotionless.
Yep. They have more detail, but they're emotionless. I've seen SF6 characters emote more.
Dude, we have a whole fucking loading screen just to do emotes just for fun. But nope, we just gonna keep doing the same shit, and we're gonna keep cutting corners because people are gonna buy it anyway, and then bitch about it the next month. Tekken 8, y'all have fun.
I'm not looking forward to that game story at all. I honestly, I want to end this shit off as positive and being maybe Namco will strike gold with their brand new story mode. They're not going to. Like, once I read that Heihachi has a bunch of secret daughters we never heard about before, and the fact that one of them is going to be a playable character in this game, and then he's got like 25. Oh my god. And then Jin still doesn't have control over his double powers, and we don't know if Jun is actually going to be in the story or if she's just going to be in Jin's head. It's just... I also think it really weakens Kazuya being the main villain of the game if we beat him up in the first chapter.
If anything, he should lose in the first chapter.
Yeah, he lost in the... I mean, but then again, maybe Jin ends up losing because there is that scene where he gets taken out in his default sweater outfit. So maybe he ends up losing even though he beat up Kazuya, but I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just thinking about taking Twitter, and I just got a migraine because all I can hear is "Where's John? 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 John?" They finally get her. I'm like, and now they're not gonna do anything with the character.
Yeah, honestly, I think they're just bringing Jun back. She's just gonna be the Kazumi of that game. No, that's what it is. She's gonna show up for like 5 minutes. They're gonna hype her up. Shows up for 5 minutes, and she's not gonna do anything of substance.
I can't talk about it anymore, bro. My voice is going on. I can't do it. It's gonna be habitually ass. Let's just leave it at that.
Yep. Look, Tekken 7 story mode sucks. Bandai Namco didn't try. They're butchering their own fucking story. That's about it. Tekken 8 is also gonna suck as a story. It's gonna be impactful. Hope you guys enjoyed. And that's about it. Fuck off.
Y'all gonna buy the game anyway. It doesn't matter what we say.
Oh, true that still. Y'all are definitely gonna pre-order that shit. Anyways.